Hello everyone and welcome to Canton, Michigan for the season opener for the FCS. We got a good one tonight. It's going to be newcomers Ginga, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio, coming in to Canton, Michigan to take on the defending champs, Detroit Imperial. Jake and Jared Kluppel, Jake George, Jared Kluppel, we're bringing you the action tonight. Jake, tell me your thoughts on tonight's matchup.
Man, really exciting start to the season for FCS this year, especially considering the fact that for the first time ever, we're live with you guys, the fans, and showing you what we've been working on for the last couple of years. But more importantly, it's a year of firsts. I cannot wait to see this with defending series champions Detroit Imperial starting off the season. I cannot think of a better way than to see the defending title up against newcomers like Ginga from Cincinnati.
Sure, lining up to be an exciting match tonight. We have had some technical issues kind of early on, still working out some of our cameras and audios and that kind of thing. You guys understand, first production of the year. We're going to straighten those things out. But until then, we're going to take a small break, and we're going to come back in just a bit and chat a little bit more about each of these teams and what they're bringing to the court tonight, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome everyone to the season opener for the Futsal Champions Series. The first ever regular season kicks off with a bang, as previous series champions Detroit Imperial host league newcomers Ginga from Cincinnati. The first ever Ohio team to join FCS starts their inaugural campaign on the road, looking to prove that they belong in the league. Meanwhile, Imperial is looking to build on last year's successes and add a second title to their trophy case. It's the first ever stream for the season opener for Futsal Champions Series. Detroit Imperial and Ginga starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into Canton, Michigan. We are here for the kickoff for the 2024-2025 FCS season. We got Ginga FS coming into Canton, Michigan to face the defending champs, Detroit Imperial. Jake George, I'm Jared Kleppel along with Jake George. Let's take a look at our starting lineup for today, Jake. We got a very interesting game between an experienced team and Jake, an inexperienced team as well.
That's right. You know, you look at Detroit Imperial and their experience, and even looking back just a season ago, they did a lot of double duty playing in two different leagues. This is a team that loves to push the envelope, push themselves. And then you have on the opposite side, newcomers to our league here in Ginga Futsal Sala. They have played at this level before, but they took last year to rebuild on their own and with some friendlies, and have really got a completely new look as far as this starting lineup and even on their bench compared to maybe some of the players we were used to seeing in the past, some of the players that made this club famous in Cincinnati amongst their fan favorites. So really exciting to see what this new identity is going to be for Ginga as they face a very stout Detroit Imperial side.
Absolutely, and we will hear a little bit more about each team as the broadcast goes on, but just a little bit as we get ready for kickoff here about the starting lineup. So first for Ginga, in goal we have Corey Weisenhunt, and then Ala Nacho Torres, Ala 19 Riley McKenzie, Fixo number 26 Eddie Jimenez, and up top at pivot 37 Nick Rumisek. And on the other side for Detroit Imperial, in goal it's Miguel Burciaga. We have the two Alas, 24 Denin Oglasivac and number 7 Omar Labicki. At the Fixo, number 6 Abdullah Esale, and then up top it's none other than number 10 Davide DePoche. Jake, Davide, certainly a player to watch in today's game.
Absolutely. Davide brings such a big presence to the court whenever he's on. But that's really the identity of this entire Detroit team. Omar the same way. You know, I remember from last season watching Omar play, and he does nothing but improve his game. He continues to hone his craft. I would expect him to be very dangerous this season as the games go on and we get underway.
And so we have the opening kickoff just a few moments ago. This is as Detroit Imperial was under some heavy pressure there, almost giving up an early goal to Ginga. We have Detroit Imperial in that white and blue stripe going from left to right on your screen. And we have Ginga in their classic gold uniforms going from right to left on your screen. But as it was mentioning, Jake, today is the opening day for the FCS, Futsal Champions Series, based here in the Midwest. And it's not the FCS's first season, but in many ways, Jake, it feels like the inaugural game.
Absolutely. You know, this is a completely fresh start for the FCS in a lot of ways, pushing the envelope as far as futsal here in the United States. And it all started with the offseason and the preseason. All of these teams coming together off the court to be that rising tide that raises all ships and raise that level of what we present to you guys as fans of futsal in the United States. Everyone agrees there's not enough of it, and all of these guys are so excited to bring a better quality version of the game and get people to love the sport as much as we do.
So as the game continues on, we do apologize for some of the technical issues that we have. There are some things that we've been sorting out and so many firsts for things going around today. So we ask that you bear with us as we continue to watch the action here between Imperial and Ginga. Imperial currently on the attack right now, trying to bring the ball up close to half. Ginga putting on some heavy pressure and able to win it. It goes back to goalkeeper Weisenhunt. Now on the near side, going over to the far side. Ginga looking to get some kind of rotation going, a little lift into the attack. That one's not going to be there for them. Imperial will for the moment, but they just kick it right out, and it's going to be a kick in for Ginga in a dangerous area. This looks to be similar to basically treated as a corner here. Here comes the ball up to the fixo position for Ginga, and he's not able to keep it. That was number 2, Satoru Matsushima, also the acting coach for Ginga.
That's right. Satoru brings a ton of experience.
The Poche there having an opportunity, sliding very close to the keeper, a little collision there, and not able to connect. It will be an Imperial kick-in. Looks like they get the ball over to the other side. Ginga now with an attacking opportunity. This one going inside the arc. Imperial's there to defend. They do win it. They do have a counterattack here, but it's quickly thwarted by Ginga. Now the ball trickling out of bounds in the near side. Does look like it's going to be kicking for Detroit Imperial.
Really interesting to see Satoru out on the court. That's got to be tough to not only have to handle the strategy for the entire team, but also be mindful of where you are to make sure that you're making an impact all the way around. Always had a ton of respect for the player coaches that have had to figure out a way to make that work and focus on more than just their individual game.
Goalkeeper Burciaga for Imperial tested very early on, as you might have seen there, having to make a sliding save to save the goal, or else they would have found themselves in an early deficit at 0-1. But it remains 0-0, and that one just given away. Picked up by 11 for Ginga. Liane Campos. It's quickly going to find its way out of bounds, and it's going to be Imperial now on the ball. Going to find some possession back to their keeper. They do go up the far side, and now up to the pivot. He tries to get a touch past the keeper. That was number 7, Omar Labiki. The Ala who went up high on the court and almost got a touch past goalkeeper Wizenhunt for Ginga. He's going to find its way back all the way to the goalkeeper. He's going to go all the way up, and goalkeeper Burciaga is going to come out and contest. There is a body that drops, but no call, and it is going to be Imperial's kick, and they will begin to bring the ball up the court with heavy Ginga pressure. Imperial trying to find a way to break this Ginga defense. Another collision there. That was Labiki on the Imperial side, trying to sneak his way down the sideline. Again, we do apologize for some of the technical difficulties going on here. Some of the image quality tough to see, kind of jumping around a little bit. We appreciate you bearing with us as we do our very best to bring you the action between Detroit Imperial and Ginga FS tonight. You know, interestingly enough, Jake, we have two teams meeting here tonight that are kind of in some respects coming in at two ends of the spectrum. You have Detroit Imperial coming in as defending champs of the FCS last year. They have loads of experience. And Ginga coming in more as the newcomers.
Absolutely. In a lot of ways, you know, Ginga find themselves truly untested. Now, they did have a very busy preseason, which I give them a ton of credit for. Satoru took this show on the road and traveled to a lot of different teams, including some very tough tasks like playing in Lansing Arena, a very tough place to play with some very high-quality players. And they also had already a couple of interactions here with Imperial. And in their last match, they found themselves only down by 2 at the end of the final whistle, which is, for me, I think, is a team still finding their identity a great result, especially in a hostile environment.
Certainly a great way to gain experience, to go out there and get experience. the best that you know how. And that's certainly what Ginga did this summer, as we're getting word that there has been a goal scored by Detroit Imperial sometime in the as we're counting down in the 15th minute. So it's going to be 1-0 right now, Detroit over Ginga. And Jake, on the other side, we have Detroit Imperial. They're the defending FCS champs, and they have a lot of experience on their side.
That's right. This is a team that takes a lot of pride in the amount of touches they get from week to week. They have a lot of pride in their identity as well. And, you know, in a very competitive market for futsal in Detroit as well, where there's a handful of teams that call Detroit and the surrounding suburbs home. So to find this level of quality and this level of camaraderie that these guys have found, and then to also consider that their individual identities and the way that those identities turn into their play style, it truly is a melting pot there at Imperial, and they found a way to make that work and play some really exciting futsal.
Something that's very encouraging, like you mentioned, the multicultural aspect of this team. There's a lot of countries represented in this team, aren't there?
There really is. You know, it's really exciting. You know, you have French, Italian, Northern African countries as well. There's Irish, tons of great influence. And a lot of it, I think, really is a testament to the great cities within FCS in the Midwest and, you know, what makes them proud cities. And I think it's so cool when a team is able to find an identity that matches their city. And I think Imperial has done a really good job of that.
And even on the other side, too, with Ginga Satoru Matsushima, he has international experience playing in Japan and some other parts of the world. So it's very cool to see that on both fronts. But you mentioned a bit ago about the culture of the Detroit Imperial team. You know, you think about Detroit sports, and this team fits in with what you think of when you think of Detroit, grit, Dan Campbell's type of sports, right?
Absolutely. You know, that Detroit has so many iconic teams, players, and personalities in their sports culture. And, you know, I think a lot, too, of like the Detroit Pistons of past time when they were really considered the bad boys and they were a team to be feared within the NBA. This is kind of the same thing with Ginga in the sense that they are a very tough, physical team, a very hard team to shake or scare, and they're up for any challenge. And they really actually embody that bad guy mentality. It feeds them when people feel that way about them and talk that way, and they get excited about it. They don't mind being the bad guys so long as it means putting trophies in the trophy case.
And, you know, sometimes it does get them into a little bit of trouble with the officials, right?
Oh, of course. That's a double-edged sword. I mean, the referees, you know, as much as they are doing their best to be fair and come in with a clear mind every single game, you know, there you have those places that you know you're going to have your hands full. And between the atmosphere here at Canton Sala on top of the style of play, I mean, this is, you know, a very tough barn, so to speak, to play in. And these guys really embody that and feed off of it. And these fans, they're just as rowdy. And it's like when you're with that one friend that brings out the worst of you in a good way. It's the same thing. These guys are, you know, they're feeding off of each other. They're making themselves better and more passionate in the process. And it creates some really exciting atmosphere in futsal.
And they do have a excited and rowdy fan base, and we're excited to see how that fan base travels as well as fills out, as you put it, this football sala barn in Canton, Michigan. And we appreciate you all of you that are watching, for bearing with us with some of the technical difficulties. We do got a visual feed here now again, so we can return to the action. Detroit up 1-0 on Ginga. We have 13:26 to go in the first half. Ginga with a corner here, going short, and a shot's going to go above the goal there, and Imperial will restart with a keeper restart. And attacking on the far side, I believe that was 17, 17, Abdu Al-Gabri, that was on the far side there. They were going very quick. So Detroit Imperial now giving away the ball. It's going to go all the way back to their keeper. You know, one thing, if you're a viewer of this game, maybe you're familiar with futsal, maybe you're not. One of the things that's very interesting about the game of futsal is just how quickly it moves. You know, one moment we're going to be right here in the back with Detroit. You know, right now the goalkeeper's got it, but it can very quickly transition to a goal just like that. You know, the court being so small, and the amount of players on it, the high action. You know, Jake, this game can turn on a dime almost unexpected.
Absolutely. Futsal is a game that brings out the best in you with some best practices, and as much as it's considered a niche sport, it benefits so much to the entire soccer community and its existence and its style of play. But more importantly than that even is the fact that it makes for a really exciting watch for the fans, and so much of that for me is the fact that we do get that turn on a dime opportunity of a game where maybe later in the game we find that Detroit's up by a few goals, and then Ginga makes that big swing, and it can happen at any point in the game and even only be minutes away from the end of the game. And if you are not up by several goals, you are not safe.
The lovely move over there on the far side by Lebicki, able to get around one defender, but not able to hang on for the rest. I do believe I think it was a foul maybe that was called on the far side. Yes, it does look like Ginga has a foul added to their tally there. You can see on the top of the screen those little rectangular boxes marking each team's fouls. Some of you may know the amount of fouls you have in each half of futsal makes a big difference. Once you hit 6 fouls, that 6th foul, the other team gets a penalty shot from the second marker. So definitely something to keep in mind there as Ginga's on the attack looking for a header on this corner. That one's going to be headed away by Davide Depoche. Good defense from Imperial, and Ginga will have an attacking opportunity here on the far side. Ball comes in now into the pivot, and a shot comes, and it's going to be turned aside by Miguel Burciaga. Great far post shot in the right away. Another cross coming in. Here's another look at that shot and that save. Actually didn't get quite as far over to the far post as I thought it did, but still great reaction time. And that's something, Jake, as a keeper in this game. I've heard some people say you got to be crazy to be a keeper in futsal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about the goalkeeper position in general, and everybody knows those guys are nuts. But the thing about futsal is, we're talking about a ball that is, sure, it's as dense as a size 5 is for the soccer fans out there, but it's a lot smaller, coming at you a lot hotter, and it's really moving across the court faster in that lead up to that big shot. And there are some players within this league, and these two teams are no exception, that can absolutely send a rifling shot across the frame. And, as a goalkeeper, to be wild enough to stand in front of that moving bullet, I mean, give these guys credit, but they are nuts.
And speaking of goalkeepers, a great save there from the goalkeeper on the Ginga side. That's Corey Weisenhunt. And now it's Depoche trying to find his teammate for a reset, and they do hang on to possession. It's Detroit Imperial. Now looking to play through at the far side. That ball was going to the far post. Did it make it into the back of the net? I believe it did. It's in the back of the net for Detroit Imperial. Here's another look at that. Can't quite tell if number 16 got a piece of it. I think he did, yeah. Peyton Trask getting a piece of that, putting the second goal into the books for Detroit Imperial. It's 2-0 Detroit.
Great counterattack, great pace, and it leads to a nice tap-in back post. It's a futsal fundamental, but it never gets old to see. And Peyton, as easy as you like there, found a way to get unmarked and put a nice little goal into the back of the net.
Imperial not slowing down now. An opportunity, and there's a collision with the goalkeeper of Ginga. No whistle, and play will continue on. A shot now is blocked from Burciaga on the Imperial side. Ginga still trying to find something, and it's going to find its way into the hands of Burciaga on the Imperial side. Got a lot of action on both ends right there. Just a, prime example of how quickly the game of futsal can change. We're talking about this keeper makes a save, and, second breath later, it's on the other side.
Really incredible the back and forth of this game. The Ginga of years past, maybe not quite at this pace and physicality as I'm used to seeing. They were a little more finesse. They like to move the ball a little bit more in a build-up. But this team we're seeing now in the first night, knowing they're in such a tough environment, they are really bringing the fight, and I absolutely love how this play is going. If you feel like they're knocking on the door this whole game, it doesn't feel like they're down 2-0.
I mean, if you would have told me that halfway into the first half, Detroit would have no fouls and Ginga would have 2, I would have thought you got yourself mixed up.
That's right.
That's an opportunity. Sorry to cut you off there. We had almost a goal coming from, I think that might have been Depoche on the far side. having a one-on-one opportunity, a quick transition the other way. But as I was mentioning, Jake, the Ginga having 2 fouls and Imperial with none, that's not how you expected the first 10 minutes to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, this Detroit side is a side that's not afraid to get physical. They're not afraid to take those early chances. They know they got time. And even when, you know, that foul count gets a little tighter and we're talking about that penalty marker, they're not afraid to mix it up and keep the level of play super, super high. You know, is this 2 fouls Ginga trying to keep up with that physicality and getting caught a little sloppy, or is it them bringing the fight to Detroit? For me, it seems like they're bringing the fight, and I kind of like that they've brought this scrappiness up to Canton Sala.
Meanwhile, Detroit Imperial trying to find a way to get some possession. Now going to the far side, a dangerous ball almost scooped up by Juliani Campos, but Imperial on the attack and a little chip shot coming from Denon Oglasivac. There's another look at that, a ball inside. He tries to beat the keeper going high, but instead he misses the entire goal, unfortunately. Almost
not
an
far
opportunity
off.
For, yeah, not by much, but Detroit's 3rd goal not coming there. And we do have a timeout coming from Ginga about halfway through this first half. Probably, you know, what do you think, Jake? Probably trying to, you know, establish, you know, their footing in the game and, you know, maybe get a little rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a moment to reset. I like where Ginga's at right now. I like their level of intensity and the fact that they're bringing the fight. They're looking for those quick counterattacks. Maybe they're trying to find a way, hey, we're getting down to that final third, but we haven't seen any balls hit in the back of the net. What do we need to do to clean up that last touch or two? And maybe it's just getting into the finer details for Saturo there as he's in the middle of the huddle.
Now, I would say at this point, we haven't seen a lot of possession on either side, like for, you know, 10, 12 more passes before, you know, the ball goes to the other team. But I would probably give at this point the edge of possession to Imperial.
Absolutely, and they've definitely made the most of it, obviously, by the scoreline as well. You know, they're really making the most, but it is counterattack versus counterattack at the moment. A lot of high speed. You know, maybe that even though they're getting those opportunities and they're not in the back of the net, maybe Saturo's going to take this opportunity to ask his players, hey, let's be a little more mindful about what we're doing and see if we can change this pace and maybe catch Detroit on the back foot, not expecting something here.
We're going to restart play with goalkeeper Weisenhunt. He throws the ball down court immediately, and it's going to be picked up by Detroit Imperial. No real threat there, as now they are gaining possession. Have to go to their keeper in the backcourt, which is not advisable in that scenario. But they are able to maintain possession, and Ginga's able to get it now in a shot, but it's going to be right at goalkeeper Burciaga. So here goes Imperial again.
Notice out of this timeout, Ginga's sitting a little higher in the court than they were before, maybe trying to slow the counterattacks down on this constant back and forth and slow this pace of the game down in total. Make Detroit think about their passes as opposed to maybe Ginga thinking more about it.
And as you say that, Ginga goes out in high press all sections of the court. But, you know, looks like we have a player down, no whistle. He's still down. DePoche tries to flick that one on. Looks like it's going to go out of bounds. And just some confusion there. Here's the play. Looks like he might have got an arm to the face area, kind of hooked around. I think DePoche looked like he was trying to kind of shield off the defender. What's your take on that one, Jake?
Yeah, you know, that's a tough call. You know, this game moves so fast. You have to give the referees a ton of credit for their involvement in these games. You know, you got to try and keep that balance, especially in a game that's been as physical as this. But, you know, just in the same way that players have an instant to think, so do the referees. So I don't know that if I was standing there, if I wouldn't have made the same call, really. I mean, it's hard to tell. It looks like Davide's just turning and passing away. It doesn't look malicious to me in any way, but I'm wondering if it's because it's face contact. The referee felt, hey, I got to at least blow a whistle here.
I do believe the end result, whistle was blown. Doesn't look like a foul was tallied. I think they stopped play for the player being on the court. But play does resume here. It's Imperial with a ball all the way to their pivot. It was going to be 11, Constantito. Constantino Wells, excuse me, who was trying to place that ball over his head to his teammate on the far side, and we do have another whistle here. This one's going to be against Imperial. Pretty clear, stepping up, going through the defender, and that's going to be Imperial's first foul tally in their corner.
Yeah, overall, Imperial, I think, doing a great job of controlling this game, controlling the pace. They're in a great position here in the last 7.5 minutes to, continue to kind of screw down the pressure and continue to just kind of choke out this this Ginga team here on a counterattack as we go.
There is Imperial, a shot coming from Depoche right around the second penalty marker. It's going to take a deflection and go over the end line. Detroit Imperial will have a corner kick. Take it quickly. There's Depoche. Gets it back. That was a well-executed play. Shot not quite there. Let's take a look at it again. A one-touch back and a one-touch. Trying to finish that into the top corner. Unfortunately, unable to do so. But Detroit Imperial able to keep possession as they have it now. Facing kind of a medium pressure from Ginga. Being overbearing, but now they start to bring the double, and Imperial's able to break it. They have an opportunity. Here comes Ginga on the way back.
Great save.
Great save there. Goalkeeper Wisenhunt able to keep Ginga from conceding a third goal, but a really good opportunity for Imperial there.
Goalkeeper's busy in this one.
On both sides. Here comes a
Absolutely.
sliding tackle. 17, Nacho Torres put the ball out of bounds for Imperial, and now a nice move on the far side. Player goes down, no whistle. Goalkeeper Wisenhunt decides he'll have a go. It's off the defender and out of bounds. Ginga restarts play, and now a shot. Another one. Depoche sliding in. Torres is there for Ginga, and he is still down after that collision.
Yeah, it looks like he might have paid the price on that one touch, trying to get it back into the arc and create a bit of chaos. But Detroit's defense, they've done a good job of really protecting the middle of the court here. And a lot of these cross passes and one-touch opportunities on the center of goal have been tough for Ginga. They've been few and far between.
Really good defending there. Davide Depoche coming out. High energy, very quickly, trying to close that space. Now, kick on the sideline for Ginga. They're going to lift it up. It's going to come back to the goalkeeper, Wisenhunt. Trying to go right back to him in an open goal. Just missed for Detroit Imperial.
Not punished for that one, but man, that could have been disastrous for Ginga as they look to be only just 5 minutes out of halftime. They really need to find a way to swing this momentum before that whistle at the half and start to put their prints on this game here.
And conceding an open net goal would have been not the way to do that. So fortunate to get out of that one without conceding, but Imperial on the attack again, and this one is going to find the back of the net. 3-0 Detroit Imperial with 5:22 left in the first half.
What a fantastic play by Detroit. It's another counterattack, catching Ginga on a turnover and, really making the ball do the work. I mean, look at how both these passes cover a vast majority of the court, not only in length, but in width, to spread what couple of Ginga defenders were left on that counter and make the most of it and get that ball into the net.
So 3-0 Detroit Imperial taking advantage on the counter attack. Very interesting, Detroit Imperial having the majority of the possession, yet still scoring on the counter attack, as they may have an opportunity here again. Just kind of goes to show that the counter attack can be so dangerous, and it can wind up. I mean, even going back to that goal, if you remember, there were 3 Ginga players that were actually tracking back. I think they were, at least 2 of them were behind the ball, but a counterattack like that is so dangerous, and even when you have players tracking back, if you can't get in the right position at the right time, it ends up being a touch-in. That's the easiest goal in futsal.
Well, I think, too, you give Detroit a ton of credit on that counter because they did not waste any time. They let their instincts do the work. There was not a wasted second on any of those passes. So even though they didn't necessarily have a man advantage on the counterattack, they made the most of the time and having these Ginga defenders on their heels instead of their toes and make sure that they caught them on the back foot.
Ginga now with the kicking on the far side, a little chip in towards the pivot position. Not there. A battle for possession. Detroit coming out on top. Ginga trying to find something to put into their corner with 4 minutes left in this half. Some high pressure. Detroit Imperial doing well to break it, and Ginga needing to call on goalkeeper Wizenhut again to save them from conceding goal number 4.
And we've heard a lot. It could definitely be a lot worse back there had it not been for Corey. I mean, he's done a ton of work in between the pipes, and man, he is definitely earning his money tonight.
Might have to do some work again. Here's Imperial, and that's going to be Omar Labicki, the ala for Detroit Imperial, who gets the best of goalkeeper Wizenhut on that one. Just a nice little move, cutting across. Gets the first defender with a couple of step overs, and then after that, it's just kind of a cheeky little play to outsmart the goalkeeper and the defender. Puts it far post, and Detroit add to their lead. It's 4-0.
Detroit just showing us all aspects of their game this first half. I mean, we've talked a lot about the counters. We've talked a lot about their physical play. Now we get to see the individual talent of these players. We talked at the beginning of this game, Jared, about how the individual identities of these players builds to the culture and the identity of the team. And Omar is someone you cannot ignore in that conversation. He has developed so well within the squad, and he proved it right there why he is so important to this starting lineup.
You really got that right. He's definitely up there in the conversation with the likes of Davide Depoche.
I got a really great opportunity to talk to Pierce before this match, who's the coach of Imperial, and he made a point to call out that combination between Davide and Omar. You know, those two guys, they train together outside of those regular 4-day practices as well. They're constantly in love with the sport of futsal and finding ways to get touches in, and they've created a crazy chemistry, and that is a perfect example of it there.
Something that we will be excited to see all year long throughout the FCS season this year. 3 minutes to go in this first half. Detroit Imperial still largely in control. They've had a lot of possession with a Meg there, and a couple step overs, a cross coming in. That was going to be deflected out for a Detroit corner. But it's really been all Detroit, particularly these last 7 or 8 minutes of the half, doubling their lead and probably taking about 75-80% of the possession. And a nice little move there. That was Labicki again, one touch between the legs of the defender. Unfortunately, couldn't make anything of it. You get the feeling a little bit, Jake, in these last couple minutes, Detroit's having fun right now.
You can tell by the way they're playing, they look a lot more relaxed. You're seeing a lot more subtle skill moves and opportunities for one-on-ones that they're starting to take on. They know they're in the driver's seat, and now they're going to showcase a little bit of the talent that makes them who they are, especially as individual players, and give these fans a bit of a show to start the season.
And a show everyone hopes to see even more than what's happened so far. And that shot is going to be wide. It will be a restart from the hands of goalkeeper Wizenhut. Ginga just giving the ball away here. Very unfortunate for their side when they have an opportunity for something like a restart. For the first pass, just going right out of bounds, and it's right back into the possession of Detroit Imperial.
Yeah, Ginga, to me, definitely seems a little rattled so far with that little bit of a run that Imperial is currently on. It feels like since that timeout that whatever changes they made, it's not working compared to that first half of the game, and I don't know what exactly was said in that circle during that timeout, but it might be time to revert. And unfortunately, they've used their timeout for the half, so they're going to have to really hang on until halftime, have a group talk, collect their thoughts, collect their patience here, and figure out a way to pull this all back together.
Another cheeky move on the far side. But now Ginga with their own opportunity. It was a 2-on-3, and they're not able to make anything out of that. But they do defend the counterattack well. Now have an opportunity for possession. Looking to go direct up to the pivot. He's doubled. The ball will go out of bounds for kicking by Ginga. Now here's a shot, just missing wide. Is the ala for Ginga on the other side. I believe he just got subbed off. I couldn't quite see what his number was. Now, yes, that is. I thought that was Libicki going down. Whistle has been blown. This is going to be another foul tallied onto Ginga's side.
You know, that great offensive effort there from Ginga, starting to see some signs of life, but hopefully they don't waste it here with this foul opportunity. You know, anytime that Imperial's in your half of the court, they're dangerous. So even though we're just inside that half, this should be a very interesting set piece that leads to some action.
This could be a key play for how the rest of the game will go. Will Detroit add to their lead in this final minute, or can Ginga find something to give them a spark for the second half? Here's the throw from the keeper, and a first-time volley coming from Nacho Torres after the header from his teammate. Unfortunately, that one's going to sail about a goal's length above the goal on that one. I used to play an old FIFA video game, and the commentator would say he wouldn't have made it if there was a goal on top of a goal. So, shout out to FIFA, I think it's World Cup 2006. I don't remember, something like that.
You know, if that would have been anywhere else in that ceiling, I think that they would have owed Imperial a bit of a light bill.
And now we have some pushing, some shoving with 31 seconds to go in the first half. A little bit of a hostile environment breaking out here, Jake.
Yeah, you know, we talked about Detroit being the bad boys, and Ginga has definitely brought some physicality to this game. You know, I think it started off as a simple misunderstanding, and this is a very passionate team, this Detroit team, and they're not afraid to get up and get in your face, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
As players and refs and coaches sort this out. In 31 seconds, just 31 seconds to go in the half. Kind of disagreement. No, I did see one player outright shove a different player. I think I saw a gold jersey go flying, if my memory serves me correct. The refs collecting here. I would think, based on what I saw, that some kind of action would be taken here. Did not seem like the kind of, little breakout that would just be maybe, brushed aside. Seems like there's probably going to be some action taken. We'll have to wait and see what the officials decide here.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those situations. You got a player down. He's over top of the ball. The play's pretty well dead. Does a Ginga player need to get a foot in there and do a little poking? I mean, we were taught as kids to play the whistle, right? But at the same time, it's definitely something that gets guys excited, especially when legs are swinging when you're down on the ground. So what started out as probably a simple misunderstanding probably got a little out of hand, but certainly something the refs need to sort out, keep this game in control. We got 30 seconds to get through the half. Let's keep everybody with chins up and thinking straight, and keep this thing moving. Looks like we got ourselves a yellow for the Ginga player there. I can't see his number from here.
The yellow. And the yellow issued for the Imperial player who's now on the bench. So it looks like we have a double yellow.
So it looks like to both the instigators on each side. Hey, listen, you guys let this get out of hand. Let's not see any more of it. The referee's doing their job to make sure that they keep this thing under control. Let them know, hey, this is your guys' game. You're the stars, but we're not going to let this get out of hand.
31 seconds left. Detroit Imperial hanging on to that 4-0 lead after that little scuffle, breaking out the double yellow card. It's going to go down as a kick for Ginga here. See if Ginga has something they can pull out of their pocket. Was that another yellow that was just issued? I don't think so. I think he was, couldn't quite tell. I think he was just saying on the whistle.
I think that,
here's the shot from Ginga.
Yeah, I think so.
They opt to do a pass to the corner. That one's thwarted. But under some heavy pressure, can they get out of it? It's like it's going to be a corner for Ginga.
Still some time here for Ginga to make something out of these last few seconds. Let's get a momentum swing before the halftime whistle.
Oh, ball going across the face of goal. One tap, a second tap, both blocked. It's going to be another corner. No, Ginga wanted a corner. But it's going to be a keeper restart. That was one of the most dangerous chances Ginga's had all game, Jake.
Yeah, definitely starting to look like they're getting some life. You know, does that yellow card, although it puts one of your players in a bit of a warning position, you know, does it rile up everybody else on the team and kind of gild them together? Maybe we see a bit of a momentum swing here.
7 seconds for that momentum swing to take place. Now down to 3. It's going to be a keeper restart on the Imperial side. For a long one and a shot. That one's going to be taken care of by Wisenhunt. That will take us to the end of half number 1 here in Canton, Michigan. It's Detroit 4, Ginga 0. We're going to step aside and we'll be back in just a few minutes for some halftime thoughts. Don't go anywhere. It's halftime here in Canton, Michigan. We're at Futsal Sala for the FCS opener in the 2024-2025 season. Detroit Imperial versus Ginga. I'm Jared Kleppel alongside Jake George. Jake, that first half was all Detroit. They're up 4-0. And on the other side, for Ginga, we have, they, for the first part of the game, it looked like they were putting out some. They seemed to be a little bit dangerous. It took a bit for that first goal to come in, but as the game went on, Jake, they struggled a little bit.
Absolutely. Ginga coming into town, they've got a lot to worry about here as they prep for today. They've got a tough travel schedule anytime they leave Southern Ohio. They're coming up to Michigan for all their away games, but they clearly had their heads on straight to start the game. They had a lot of great energy. They came in with a lot of counterattacks. They came in with a lot of high press and really playing physical to match Detroit's energy. But as the half wore on, it appeared that they really started to lose a little bit of pace. And especially after that timeout, it looked like they maybe changed strategy. And they really invited Detroit to think a little bit more about what they wanted to do with the ball. And that turned out to be lethal. If I was Ginga, I'd be thinking about quick subs and trying to find a way to keep that energy really high and find a way to high press. And not just high press and be high up the court, but actually get a foot in, apply pressure. Don't let these Detroit guys think twice about what they want to do during this game, because they will and have punished you so far.
And if you're on the Detroit side, how do you keep this momentum going?
For Detroit, they just need to stay focused. They can't let the scoreline keep them from focusing on the final goal. Anytime a team gets ahead, and in futsal, 4 goals is an easy place to get comfortable. They cannot stay comfortable against this Ginga side. They clearly have some energy about them. They've got a little bit of a spark to them. You could see it in the way that, we even saw emotions flare in the last 30 seconds of that first half. Ginga clearly cares about how they come out of this result. They want to make a difference. They want to, collect some scalps early in this season, so to speak. So you cannot sleep on them. They will find a way to get back in this game.
You mentioned, Jake, a little bit of emotional outburst there with about, I think it was 30 seconds to go in the first half. A little bit of pushing, shoving. Just 2 yellow cards coming out of that. You and I were talking off air. Thought that maybe there could have been a red pulled out. But 2 yellows it is. And now just taking a look at a couple of stats, Detroit Imperial with the 4 goals. We got 2 coming from Omar Labicki, 1 from Davide DePoce, and 1 from Peyton Trask. That's how they line up their 4 goals. Definitely not 16 goals yet for this game. Though the way they were playing, they could get close. I think this first couple minutes, Jake, it's going to tell the tale of, set the tone for the rest of the game. Is Ginga going to be able to stop this push of goals, or are they going to start to see Detroit run away?
Ginga's got to find a way to stop the bleeding here. They've had a nice long break to collect themselves, collect their thoughts, clear out what happened in that first half and start thinking fresh. This is a new half. You can see it in the body language as we watch the teams right now. Ginga standing, waiting, ready to roll. Whereas Detroit, they're kicking balls around, they're feeling loose, they're just having a good time and rocking with the atmosphere. So you got to find a way to break through that, make them uncomfortable. If I'm Ginga, I'm getting hands all over these guys without trying to collect a whistle and finding a way to make the game physical in your favor. Find a way to get back in this game, and it's going to literally require some scratching and clawing to get in for these guys to make up this 4-goal deficit. But hey, like we talked about in the first half, this is futsal, baby, and it doesn't take a lot of time for us to have a complete momentum swing in the other direction.
4 goals is not enough. If I am Detroit, I am not comfortable. 4 goals is not enough in a game of futsal with a whole half ahead of you. And that's what we got in just a bit. It looks like they might have lost track of the game ball, so trying to get that in play and get the referees out onto the court. So second half action just about happening. And It's going to be a kickoff for Ginga to begin this second half. And I do have to, right as we start this second half, I do have to shout out the goalkeepers. They both faced their own barrage of attacks and did well to make some great saves. And here we go. It's half number 2, Ginga and Detroit Imperial. Ginga trying to erase that 4-goal deficit, and Imperial almost within the first 10 seconds putting up goal number 5.
Yeah, I mean, right away, Detroit putting Ginga on their heels. Ginga just needs to find a little more pace about how they collect themselves. It started with some bad pace on the pass that made a simple turnover in a dangerous place. And then clearly Imperial saw that they were sleeping on the restart because everybody moved forward in a quick way and caught them off guard.
So that's how we begin half number 2. Detroit Imperial now with a great move on the far side, going between the legs of the defender, and a shot that's going to be saved by Corey Wisenhunt, goalkeeper for Ginga. His name has certainly been called more than once tonight.
Absolutely. Corey has been very busy tonight. This scoreline could be a lot worse had it not been for some acrobatic moves from Corey in between the pipes.
Same goes for Detroit Imperial. There were a few chances, particularly earlier in the game, where goalkeeper Burciaga was called upon to make some key saves. As another one right here, speaking of, that one going right
cue
to his hands. Yeah, right on cue, and it goes right into the hands. Not a real big challenge coming from Eddie Jimenez there, but maybe a little spark for Ginga to get a shot on goal. I think it's been quite a while since they have put a ball on frame.
Yeah, we've seen a couple crosses across the penalty area, but really nothing that was particularly lethal. We've seen Burciaga get down on the ground a few times just to make sure things stay in his team's favor, and he certainly has the athleticism back there. And this Detroit side, even with their goalkeepers across the board, even that aren't playing, they have a very, very strong back room for the goalkeepers.
That last shot coming from Omar Labicki was very close, just missing the far post by a slim margin there. Detroit Imperial is going to restart from the back, trying to find some possession, facing high pressure from Ginga all the way up. It pays off for Ginga. Can they get some kind of shot or attack? Not at this moment, but they are going to win a kick-in the attacking half right here on the near side. Little pass there, one touch from Riley McKenzie into the pivot, and Ginga win themselves a corner. Excuse me, not quite a corner. Just a few meters up the court. When that one coming in, had a little bit of promise, not enough pace put on that one to worry the goalkeeper, but we are seeing some attacking moments here after that very first almost conceding a goal in the first 10 seconds. We are seeing Ginga put on a little bit more of attack and show some more promise right now.
For me, if Ginga really wants to turn this around, this is the kind of stuff that they need to put a little more lethal play into. You know, they're playing high up here with this pass, but they're not really putting any pressure on the ball. You see the way that the Imperial players are able to do their soul delays, look around. They have several seconds to make a decision on a pass. And with the pace that they're playing at and Ginga's struggle to get back, they're really opening themselves up by not completing this hard press, by not only getting up the court, but actually putting a foot in.
That's something that will be key for Ginga's. Now they do have an opportunity. It's going to be saved from Miguel Burciaga once again for Detroit Imperial. Shot coming from inside the arc for Ginga. Depoche for the Imperial side looking to play it up to Labicki. Changing possession a few times there, and now Ginga settles in the back. Some pressure coming from Detroit Imperial, and that one's going to be cleared away by goalkeeper Corey Wisenhunt.
Nothing on the end of that play, but I think that's the first time we've really seen Ginga put together a series of passes in this game.
I think you might be right about that one, Jake. Not too much possession coming from. Really, we haven't seen a ton from either side. Although Detroit Imperial has had more, they tend to be more direct anyways. But now Ginga with a 2-on-1. Can they capitalize here? And they do, and that's a much-needed goal for Ginga FS, finding the back of the net. It's 4-1. Ginga trying to claw themselves back into this game.
Great opportunity for Ginga here. They finally get that chance to kind of catch Detroit on the back foot. Look, this is a game of making the most of mistakes, and Ginga found a way to do it there for the first time really in this game, and it was no-nonsense tap in on the back post as it should be and start to collect some goals to, just like you said, Jared, claw back into this thing and make a game out of this here and make things really exciting, not only for the fans online here with us, but also inside of the building, and give them something to really get loud and noisy about.
To do so, Ginga going to have to find an answer on the defending side. The ball comes into Davide Depoce. Direct from the keeper, and looks like Ginga's able to get that one away. Perhaps another counter coming here. Shot coming in, a goal, and it's in the back of the net. And just like that, Ginga cuts the deficit in half. It's 4-2.
We've talked about it the entire first half. Momentum swings in futsal are what makes this sport so exciting. Eat your heart out, fans. This is what we're talking about. Is this the beginning of something big for Ginga on the road against defending champs Detroit?
Time will tell if Ginga can keep up this pressure and keep up the goal scoring and keep up the defending. Here's Labicki opening up, and just like that, it's Omar Labicki. The hat trick. Detroit 5, Ginga 2.
Celebrating with the fans, that's what it's all about. The connection from top to bottom within this club and finding a way to try and snuff out that crucial momentum we keep bringing up and find a way to keep this game in control.
You know, I got a feeling, Jake, the way these last few goals have been scored, this might be an exciting half number 2.
Absolutely. Ginga's got a lot of work to do, but they look up to the task so far to start this second half. I really am excited and curious to see what they do to keep this momentum going. Can they make it go the full time and make the most of the minutes that are left in this game, because they are becoming precious?
Ginga choosing to high press right now. You mentioned a few moments ago that you have to complete the high press, and it looks like that is what they are doing. They do win themselves a corner here.
Much better effort there from Ginga.
The shot coming in, that one's going to be saved. A goalkeeper, Burciaga, on the Detroit side, and now a counterattack opportunity. It's going to go wide for Davide Depoce. Ginga now on the other side. Got a whistle here. After a move on the far side, let's take another look. Yeah, just a defender reaching in. Great move from the attacker, and he just gets all leg. Very clear foul. It's going to be a free kick for Ginga near the sideline there. 3 or 4 meters from the arc. See what Ginga chooses to do with this opportunity.
Definitely a dangerous position here for Ginga to make something out of it. What's the set piece look like here?
It's like the ball came to the near post. Was deflected out of play, but Ginga still harassing, trying to get possession in the attacking quarters, and they do win. Oh, wow.
Whoa,
what a shot there from Eddie Jimenez. He was eyeing that upper 90 on the left side from all the way out here on the near side, and it just went a little bit wide. Did the keeper get a hand on that? Yes, he did. That was going right for that back inner post there on the in the back of the net. Actually, it might have been hitting the crossbar. That was a very great shot from Eddie Jimenez.
What a great angle for the fans to enjoy that shot, too. I can't think of a better way to view that thing. I mean, we got a front row seat to a very great opportunity there for Ginga.
A little discussion going on between the official and a couple of players. Not exactly sure what is being discussed. All put back into play into the hands of goalkeeper Burciaga. Now all the way on the other side, it's Wisenhunt looking to go direct up to Nacho Torres. It's going to find its way into the possession of Detroit Imperial. Because still playing that high press defense has been paying off for them so far this second half.
Definitely making a difference, definitely helping with the amount of pressure that Corey is feeling overall, even though he was recently called into action. And they need to find a way to keep Detroit from creating opportunities. For me, that's the best way to do it.
And Ginga with their own opportunity there as play is stopped for a ball that trickled onto the court, so will be a Ginga kick once again. But just moments ago, a toe poke opportunity going far post, saved by goalkeeper Miguel Burciaga of Imperial's side. And now it's Davide Depoche. For a second, he had a counterattack, but quickly, Ginga had 3 players swarming him. And they get it out of their own half now. Great defense there. Looked to be Denin Oglasavac. Excuse me, I think that's Andrei Pelek that was on the defense there. Detroit Imperial is able to win the ball back. They have a kick in on the near side here. Now with his back to goal, it's Depoche. Got 2 defenders on him. He's looking for an option. Finds a ball across to the goalkeeper. He gets across the half line. So now Detroit Imperial showing the flying of the goalkeeper for the first time today on either side, where the goalkeeper comes up and joins the attack. 5 players attacking empty net for Detroit Imperial. Certainly are with goalkeeper Burciaga all the way up there on the near side corner. And Jake, for those watching, maybe this is odd for them to see the winning team 3 goals ahead, pulling their keeper out of goal. Tell us a little bit about flying the keeper in futsal and what that's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talked about this game of pace, and when you need a little extra lethal attack, we can pull the goalkeeper forward, or we can add on a 5th attacker. And in this case, flying the keeper allows that goalie to have as many touches as he wants with no time limitation like he has in his own half. I think for a minute there, Imperial thought they might have a chance to create some pressure, maybe force Ginga into a low press because they got to deal with that extra man on the court. And it worked for quite some time, really burning a lot of time off that clock and controlling the pace of the game. Even though we really didn't see the goalie get involved there, he was creating pressure off the ball that was crucial to keeping Ginga in a really tight formation and keeping them from being too lethal with a higher press.
Ginga goalkeeper coming out. It's Wisenhunt clearing that one away. So Imperial restarts from that far side. You mentioned the possession and the time that just went off the clock. That was definitely the longest spell of possession we had seen continuously from either side all game, without a doubt. And you know, some that are new to the game may be wondering, why would you do that when you're up 3 goals? Well, in futsal, flying the keeper, bringing that keeper up as a 5th attacker is not as big of a risk as maybe if you compare it to something like hockey. It's not quite as big of a risk. There, of course, is still that risk, but it's not something that is too uncommon to see teams do, even when they are up in the scoreline.
Most definitely, and of course, there's always risk to anytime you pull out that crazy guy we're talking about this game as the goalkeeper. But it's such an important part of the game, and so many teams feel uncomfortable when that happens. It changes the way that you rotate as a team, having that fifth player. It changes the way you have to think, and we've even seen it at the ultimate level in the World Cup this last year, just a couple months ago, where teams felt the necessity of throwing that keeper up front, but you notice that sometimes that fifth attacker or that goalie can sometimes feel uncomfortable. When you have someone like this that is comfortable, it is such a dangerous weapon in your arsenal and in your bag of tricks to really throw off another team.
Another opportunity there just a bit ago from Ginga. That one goes wide, but now it's Omar Labicki trying to create an attack for his team, and Ginga trying to find their defense. They do. Poche going direct again. He was trying to find teammate Peyton Trask. It's not going to go anywhere, and now Ginga gives it up. So after all that possession, we're going right back to direct play. Losing the ball fairly quickly. Looks like Imperial might be slowing it down a little bit here, trying to maintain some possession. And Ginga's high press has been trying to work some magic. Right now, they are on the defense. Goalkeeper and defender both sliding to make that save. But Imperial still on the attack, and they catch Ginga on their heels. Davide Depoche adds to his tally of goals. And now Detroit regains that 4-goal lead. It's 6-2.
Really caught Ginga sleeping there. No one appeared to be in position for that corner kick. And we even see one of the players that was down in the initial attack there jogging back. I think that, maybe the travel for Ginga and being just a couple players less on that bench compared to Imperial is starting to wear them down. What I find interesting is at what point, if any, does Ginga decide to fly their keeper and try and make up a little bit of this scoreline here? If they decide, hey, we've got nothing to lose, let's throw someone forward and really find a way to get back into this game.
That's a very good point there, Jake. And it's something that, I would definitely consider this a prime time to do it. I mean, you got less than 10 minutes in the game. Detroit Imperial with another attack there, calling on the likes of Ginga's goalie, Wisenhunt, to come out and pressure that one, though Ginga comes away with it. But it is a kind of the time that you would, fly your keeper or pull him for a fifth attacker to try to get back into this game down 4 goals and 8.5 to go. You gotta start making that kind of a decision very soon.
It's definitely got to be weighing on Saturo's mind as a coach. At what point do you throw everything but the kitchen sink at this game? And definitely something to think about. But this Detroit side and the way that they've played and being very calm, cool, collected, do you stick to the strategy? Do you believe in the strategy a little bit longer? And at what point is it go time and you hit the fire alarm? That's what the coach has got to figure out and decide, okay, we need to do everything we can to get back in this game.
Oh my, and that one getting past goalkeeper Wisenhunt, kind of think maybe his view was blocked and it went all the way to the back post, and Detroit Imperial players upset that they did not capitalize on that one. But here is Ginga. A low press coming from Detroit Imperial, inviting Ginga to come in a little chip. Trying to find, I thought that was number 16. I don't see a 16. Was I correct in seeing that? Yeah, there's number 16. I don't see.
Was that Nick Rumisik there?
Yeah, I don't see a 16 on my roster sheet, so I'm not exactly sure who that is. But the chance the opportunity didn't materialize to anything. So here is Ginga now with another opportunity. That one goes off the post. It was their turn to catch Imperial sleeping, but unfortunately can't capitalize on that one.
Little better high press here from Ginga on that play. Hopefully they could string a couple of these together and maybe bring a couple goals back and bring a little tension into this game.
Now here is Detroit Imperial with 7:12 to go. For for the back post on that one. It was Davide DePoce. It's going to be blocked, and he will kick it in for Detroit Imperial.
Detroit just looks so comfortable in this game.
Yes, they certainly have. Ginga have had their moments in this second half. I believe they got it. Did they get it down to a two-goal differential? I believe they did, before the 2 goals again coming from Detroit Imperial. But more still required for them to challenge this 6-2 scoreline with 6:29 left to play. Now Imperial with an opportunity. Great defense there to stop the attack, but it's coming right back to Detroit Imperial. Here's a chance coming across goal. That was Denin Oglasavac who put it across the face through the arc, but no teammate close enough to make a play. And now Imperial is able to win the ball in the attacking half, maintaining some possession. A little miscommunication there. A shot from Ginga. Goalkeeper coming out of his arc, but the handling of the ball, keeping it inside the arc. So a legal play there. But Imperial in some trouble here. Davide DePoce with 2 defenders on him. He's on the ground. And it's going to be a foul called against Ginga. Only 4 fouls called this half. As another ball trickles onto the court here, the near side. Maybe the official can take care of it before it interferes with play. And a shot. It's not there. The follow-up, not there. But Imperial still with the ball. Now choose to go to their keeper and to their defending half. Facing some high pressure from Ginga. They're able to keep it.
Notice a few of the Ginga players really laying their bodies on the line, getting down on that court. Not a comfortable thing to do, and they're really proving that they're serious about this and giving absolutely everything they have in their body to keep up in this game.
Here's Imperial on the attack, and that ball just a little bit too far for the attacker. It looks like it's number 18. Seen an 18 on a roster sheet here, so unfortunately not sure who that is, but it's going to be Ginga on the attack now. They have won a kick in on the near side. It's going to be Roger Straz taking that one. A shot all the way from half. Ambitious look.
Wow.
Looks to be on frame, but is taken care of by goalkeeper Miguel Burciaga. Now another shot. That one finds the back of the net for Ginga. It's going to be number 13, Dima Sherbina.
Much needed from Ginga, finding a way to get back into this game. You see the press has been a lot better, getting some actual feet in, disrupting some of these passes. They got to keep that going. They got to keep sticking a foot in and disrupting this. And near post nonetheless as well with that rocket ship of a shot there. So really tough angle there for the goalie to get down in between his hand and his leg. They made the most of it, which I love.
That puts them at a deficit of 3 goals. Ginga 3, Detroit 6. What can Imperial do here? They're able to defend. Ginga win the ball back. It's Davide DePoce. He's got a defender on him. Finds a teammate looking for the far side. Not there. Ginga now on the counter. It's 2v2, and some moves in a wide shot there. Coming from number 11, Juliane Campos. The time for Ginga dwindling at 350 right now. They're running out of time to erase this 3-goal deficit, but 3 goals, not as much as you might think. A couple of players hit the court, and it looks like we're going to have a timeout coming from the Detroit Imperial side.
Yeah, maybe just a chance to clean things up just a tiny bit, reassess. I mean, if I'm Pierce and I'm coaching this team right now, I'm feeling pretty good about the overall play, but allowing Ginga to creep back into this thing, and they proved to be competitive in the past and get physical when they want to. You know, how do we keep that momentum down and keep these guys pinched against the wall and send them home from Canton Sala with a first loss of the season to start things off for Ginga?
3:44 left. Jake, if you are on the Ginga side right now in that huddle, what do you think is going down?
I mean, I would encourage them, guys, we've only got 4 minutes left. Now is the time to give it your all. We are sprinting to the end of the race here, and we need to find a way to get rid of a 3-goal deficit. It's going to be with high presses. It's going to be not allowing Detroit to dictate how these last few minutes go. If there was ever a time, now is the time to make it happen. So I would be really, really encouraging these guys that there's plenty of time to rest in the van on the way home. Give it everything you got if you want to come out of here with a win.
It will restart with a Detroit Imperial kick. There was a foul that had been given just before the timeout. So here's Detroit Imperial trying to add to that lead of 3 goals. Into the corner. Heavy pressure. As Ginga try to defend their hopes for getting back into this game. Here's Imperial. Gonna come back to being told this goalkeeper Michael Forbes this half. Seems like they might have had a change there. So apologies for that. I think I was calling him by the first half goalkeeper Miguel Burciaga for all this half. But it is Michael Forbes in the net for Detroit Imperial. And they still have possession with just over 3 minutes left. And that one given away. Certainly an opportunity you cannot afford to give up for Ginga at this stage of the game. But it is defended by Detroit Imperial. Davide Depoce trying to create some kind of counter going on with that.
Much better pressure from Ginga the whole way around there to make that play happen. Now they just got to get that touch on the ball. You know, a couple extra touches trying to get around the keeper, but unfortunately it was enough that the Detroit defense was able to set. They kind of get away with one there.
As easy as it might seem to convert a chance like that in the game of futsal, even those moments are particularly tough. I mean, things are happening so quickly. The quarters are so small. You don't have much room. So even in a situation where you're one-on-one with the keeper, it's not always a gimme, but it is a golden opportunity that, you know, if you want to stay in this game, you really have to convert. But Ginga do have another opportunity here, and that one's going to be kicked right into the hands of goalkeeper Forbes, who's knocked to the court. No whistle, it sounds like, there.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Yep, there the whistle came in. It's just a little bit late. And that's going to be foul number 4 for Ginga FS.
I think smart foul for Ginga. That was going to be a dangerous counter. You know, not enough guys back. People trying to catch up. You got to stop that momentum and give your team a chance to reset. It's only a couple minutes left. 4th foul's not going to kill you, although you're now in the danger zone a little bit. But gave them a chance to kind of take the venom out of that counterattack.
It's like a stoppage of play once again. And player for Detroit just kind of juggling the ball there is Constantino Wells. It's like he was almost kind of bumped into one of the players in the Ginga side, and a little bit of confrontation there. Nothing major going down, but something kind of at this stage of the game with 2:11 left. Clearly the ball was not in play anymore. Just some situation that could have very easily been avoided by both teams.
Sure, I think that's a little bit of mind games maybe coming from Constantino. Like, hey, listen, we're still in the driver's seat. You guys may have had the last goal and had a couple opportunities here, but this is our house, and this is how comfortable we are. I think that was definitely a bit of a message without words that you guys aren't going to get the best of us tonight. We're seeing this through.
Now Ginga do indeed fly their keeper. They have him as a fifth attacker, as you can see right here, and now Detroit Imperial winning that ball in combination play there. That was Wells, DePoche, and Labicki almost combining right out of their half into an opportunity on the open net. But not able to convert. In a turn now from Ginga FS. I think that was Eddie Jimenez who turned and shot near post, going off the post there. It's going to be a restart from the hand of Forbes. Now Forbes again finds the ball up the court to his ala, and that one's going to be sailed out of bounds to the Ginga side. Little touchback there. Shot from Juliane Campos coming off of the touch from Jimenez. It's not there for Ginga. Imperial now finding themselves close to the arc. Could have been a foul there. Nothing called. Ginga on a 3-on-2. Now it's 3-on-3. And the slide from Imperial is able to thwart that attack. But Ginga do have... Oh, I think that call is going for Imperial there. Yes, it's going to go over the end line and be a restart from the hand of Forbes. He wastes no time in being very direct up the court. Ginga defense trying to win it. Gets by one. Now a second. He's double teamed, and the whistle is blown. That's going to be number 11, Juliane Campos, down. Take a look at that again. Yeah, just kind of was number 7, Omar Labicki, who was the second defender in that. Looks like it just kind of clipped him. Got sort of smushed between the two Imperial players, and it's going to go down as Detroit's third foul. Now here's Ginga flying the keeper once again, having 5 attackers. Goalkeeper Wisenhunt. Oh, that was a dangerous one coming across to the top of the arc. The goal is open. Can Imperial find a way to find the back of the net? They cannot. It's defended by Ginga with 1:10 left. Still 6-3. Detroit Imperial in control and in possession. A nice little play there from the Imperial players.
Great combination play.
Labicki
I think Ginga realized on... Sorry, Jared. I think Ginga realized they were a little bit outnumbered on that counter, and they found a way to get small, but ultimately leads to a goal as the pressure stays on for Detroit.
And goal number 7, Davide DePoche, adding to his tally. He also gets a hat trick. That was just one of those where you don't have much time left in the game. Ginga's trying to defend. Imperial's putting the pressure on. And Davide DePoche found himself with some space inside the arc, very close to the net. Goalkeeper stayed on his line, and he puts it into the back of the net. 7-3 Detroit.
Great first save from Corey, but unfortunately it deflects right to the feet of Davide, and he doesn't even let the ball touch the ground, makes the most of the opportunity, and puts it back.
So with 28 seconds to go, Forbes is going to restart it for Imperial. Ginga high pressing. Trying to find some kind of goal or opportunity out of this, though it may not make a difference at the end of the day. And it is instead going to be Detroit Imperial putting away goal number 8.
Great goal there for Imperial, making the most of another opportunity to take advantage of a difference in pace. And they really put on the afterburners, catch Ginga out, and they are just not getting back fast enough to stop that play.
That's another one for Omar Labicki. He's got 4 on the night. By himself, he has outscored Ginga. Ginga not giving up, showing their resilience to continue to put the pressure on and fight to the very end, even in a game that is out of reach with 5 seconds left. Imperial still possessing 3, 2, and 1. And that's going to do it with a little action here at the end. Looks like we're going to be A-okay. Thought for a moment there could be a little bit of extracurricular going down at the final whistle. But it is going to be Detroit Imperial hanging on and achieving victory 8-3 over newcomer Ginga FS. You know, Jake, let's just take a moment, reflect on this game. First half, kind of that first 10 minutes or so, it seemed like both teams were really trying to find their place in the game.
Absolutely. You know, new season, fresh start, both teams looking to make an impact and start things off on the right foot. And absolutely amazing play and opportunities that we got to see out of those first few minutes. As people started to settle in the game, we really got to see the play styles of the two teams, and Imperial proving why this place is so difficult to play at. You know, Canton Sala, definitely a unique place to play, and with a absolutely loud and crazy atmosphere. It's all right on top of you in this building, and Ginga started to maybe feel the pressure, and it showed as they started to let off the gas and start to play a little more timid in that first half. Second half, they started to look a little stronger. They had a lot better pressing opportunities, missing a little bit of consistency there. But I think as they get used to the level of play in this league, we'll see that they start to adapt. And it's definitely way too early in the season to count anybody out. It's just game one. So I'm curious to see what Ginga does with the rest of this season. Imperial starts their title defense absolutely on the right foot.
They do come away with a victory, 1-0 on the season. Ginga getting their first loss. But really, I wouldn't say, Jake, that this was outside of what we expected to see in the first game.
No, I mean, this is a house that is hard to play in, and then we've got players that are constantly on the ball and honing their craft. I mean, these are guys that are not afraid to travel the country and the world to get touches if they have to. So they are always looking for the highest level of competition, always looking for ways to stay sharp, even during the offseason, and clearly whatever offseason prep that team leaders Pierce and Davide put together for this team, it proved to work here in game one. It's business as usual for these guys.
Now, looking on the side of Ginga, coming in as newcomers in the league, playing the defending champs, what kind of takeaways do you think they have from this game, Jake?
I mean, they got the taste for the level of play they're going to get during the regular season. I mean, this is a team that was also active in preseason, not afraid to travel and find FCS teams to play in contests. But preseason's always just a little bit different, and it goes across all sports in that way. Now they get a taste for the regular season when it gets down to real business. And Ginga now understands what they need to do to play at the top level in this league. And they got a very tough lesson in a 5-goal loss from the defending champs Detroit Imperial.
In Ginga, that second half, they did seem like they were going to possibly have an opportunity to claw back into the game. The lead was as little as 2, albeit just for a moment, but it ends up 8-3. We got 1 goal coming from 16 Peyton Trask, a hat trick for 10 Davide DePoce, and 4 goals for Omar Labicki. Certainly going to be a player to keep watch for and try to stifle on the other side. Coming up in a week, we have Ginga going to be hosting their first game on November 16th. Going to be playing Midwest FC. Jake, what do you expect to see from that game on Ginga's second outing, now hosting their first match?
Well, listen, Flock Arena is a place that is kind of gives me same vibes as Detroit as far as fans are concerned. You know, the fans are typically right on the court, very close. There's also a balcony that fans are cheering from as well, right down on top of you. So it could very easily get very loud inside of Flock Sports Arena. And they're playing Midwest FC, a team that they have not really experienced yet as far as any preseason prep or anything like that. But for Midwest Futsal, they got a tough task ahead for themselves because they start with a long road trip away from home with a bit of a fresh look as a team. You know, they spent this offseason really putting together a new identity and putting their team together. So are they ready for the challenge is going to be the big question. And it's going to be a tough one being on such a long trip across 2 states to get to their first action of FCS, and really their first time outside of that central Michigan area playing since pre-COVID. So they really have to find their identity quickly and be ready to take on a Ginga side that's already gotten a taste of regular season action.
And Ginga, the lone team outside of the state of Michigan, their home being in Cincinnati, Ohio. Actually, their next, let's see, is that right? Their next 5 games, it's a home stretch. So this was the lone away game, it looks like, in what's going to be a home stretch for them. Also very interesting, talk about Midwest FC. This team, Detroit Imperial, actually had its roots in Midwest, and they actually the team was created out of Midwest. So some of these players used to be playing for Midwest, now they're Detroit Imperial. So just a little interesting note there. But that's what it's going to be next week. On the 16th, Ginga is going to host Midwest. And then the following week, Lansing City is going to get into their first action, and we'll also see Grand Rapids Olay for the first time in FCS. But that's going to do it tonight here in Canton, Michigan at Football Sala. I am Jared Kleppel with Jake George. From all of us at the FCS, we hope you enjoyed tonight's match. Detroit comes out on top 8-3 over Ginga FS. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.